Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 7 of our F2 2020 Mick Schumacher career mode, where today we're here back ready for the British GP weekend. Obviously if you missed out on last weekend's videos from Austria, I would definitely recommend going back and checking them out. Obviously two brilliant races from the Styrian Mountains. As you can see in the background though, championship wise though, things starting to look more and more like a 3-horse race as we head into the second half of the World Championship. 2 points separate myself and Artem Markelov at the front of the field there, with Guan Yu Zhou making good strong progress in recent weeks, trying to get himself towards the front of the field there. Schwartzman ahead of Mazepin and Armstrong there in P6 as well. Sonoda, Drogovic, Cheruvela and Matsushita rounding it at the top 10 as well. But yeah, another quick side note as well as we head into this weekend. If you guys are interested, in about half an hour after this video is meant to be uploaded, I'm going to be taking part in the Daytona 24 Hours. So if you head over to the community page on the channel, there will already be a link to the stream. We've got 3 of our cars racing in the same split for this race there. We're in an LMP1 car. We're actually starting from pole position. I'm going to be starting the car for us as well. So very excited for that. And obviously as well, if you are new around here, make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 15k at the moment as well. So if you can help us get one step closer to that, it would be greatly appreciated as well. But yeah, let's dive in then here to the British GP weekend. So here we are then on the grid, ready for qualifying for the British Grand Prix. Then qualifying hasn't been our strong point throughout a lot of races early on this season, so we'll wait and see as to how this one does go. But obviously, as always, making the same sort of setup changes we tend to do with this F2 car. They're pretty much front-facing brake bias, low tyre pressures as well. But let's see if we can try and get the car in towards the top 10 here, ready for the British Grand Prix. As there seems to actually be a little bit of drizzle on the cockpit and the halo there, so not too sure if that's going to make a big effect in this qualifying session. Obviously we've just got to make sure we keep it nice and tidy, hit our braking markers, obviously make sure we consciously brake just a little bit earlier than we tend to in the Formula 1 cars. You know, I really have sort of got to try and remind myself of that each and every weekend. There is Markelov straight up into the lead in this one-shot qualifying. Obviously, remember, if he does get pole, he will re-inherit the lead of the World Championship. We head into this weekend with 2 points over the Russian driver, so hopefully, if he does get pole, he will retake the lead by 2 points. The gap will swap over between the pair of us. But yeah, qualifying has never been particularly great for us. I think our best qualifying all year was a 6th place back in Azerbaijan, so we'll wait and see if we can try and get towards the front of the field. They're not far behind Markelov as we head through Sector 2 to get a good run through the old Turn 1 there, really opening up that as best as possible there. As you can see, Schwartzman, who's had a horrible run of form in recent weeks now, inherits the current fastest run in this session as we try to get the car rotated through the Magnussen Beckett section. Nice and tidy there, use all the curb we possibly can on the exits. You can see we're purple in Sector 2 there, 3/10 behind our teammate with just a few more corners to go of this qualifying session. Can we keep it nice and tidy as we head down in towards the final couple of corners? Make sure we hit our braking marker down in towards the final big braking zone of the lap. Try and keep it nice and tidy. Through the final chicane we go, down towards the finish line. It's going to be very close at the end of qualifying. Only a couple of tenths off, but it's still that couple of tenths that makes the difference. And it's P12 ready for the British Grand Prix there. Not quite what we needed, but again, the field's so closely spread and not a lot we can do.
Of qualifying, here's a look at your top 3. Schwartzman, Armstrong and Nobuharu Matsushita. It's time to leave for now, but we'll be back tomorrow when the feature race gets itself underway.
So there we go then, 3/10 off our teammate Schwartzman there. He was the only man to get a lap in under 100 seconds there. Armstrong in second, Matsushita, Markelov, Christian Lundgaard and Drogovic make up your top 6, separated by less than a tenth of a second. 6 cars within a tenth, just how insane are these F2 qualifying sessions there. But we find ourselves just behind our other main championship rival, Guan Yu Zhou, and just in front of Pedro Piquet as well there. Yeah, very close qualifying session once again there. But hopefully, as we get into the race, we can try and carve our way through the field, get towards the front. Let's do this thing here for the British Grand Prix.
It's Sunday, and that means it's race time here in Silverstone. As the cars are being prepared, let's join them trackside for the start of the race. So Silverstone's 3.6 miles of tarmac and 18 corners are no stranger to rain. Even in these conditions, without the DRS that would normally be available, the Wellington and Hangar straights still represent some of the best opportunities for overtaking. I'm joined by a man who's had many a wet race, Davide Valsecchi. Just how challenging will these conditions be out there on track?
Delighted to be here, Alex. Even in this weather, nothing will be easy for them. We may have standing water, which means visibility will be a worry. They just need to stay clear of the white lines and curbs. They can cause you a real problem when it's so slippery.
Here are the starting positions for today's race. A fantastic effort from Robert Schwartzman yesterday puts him on pole position. And it's Marcus Armstrong in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Matsushita, Markelov, Christian Lundgaard, Andragovic, Tictum, Mazepin, Aitken, Callum-Ilott, Joe, Schumacher, Pedro Piquet, Andalesi, Galeo, Deruvala, Sato, and Yuki Tsunoda, Nissany, and Guilherme Samaya, Delatraz, and Luca Giotto rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So here we are then, ready on the grid for the British Grand Prix, and it is looking rather wet. Ready for this race there. It's going to be a full wet Grand Prix, this one, so tyre wear and trying to keep the tyres in good nick is going to be absolutely critical. Maybe, just maybe, the no-stop will be possible in this race, but obviously don't want to get too optimistic. We'll do the first couple of laps and see how we're getting on. In terms of the wing, we're going to put a lot of extra front wing on the car whilst we get the opportunity. Not always best to have a more front wing bias than rear, but we'll wait and see as to how this goes then. But I'm trying to remember, I don't think we've had any full sort of wet races so far this season. I think we might have had one at Zandvoort where we did quite well. But apart from that, yeah, really haven't had much wet running in these Formula 2 cars. So let's just see then what we're going to be capable of here in the F2 feature race. The 5 lights are going to be coming on now. I can't imagine it's going to be a particularly great start. 5 red lights. And one, again, a really, really long hold, but it is lights out, and away we go. They're at Lacey, rocketing off the start as we head down in towards turn 1. Clearly the F40 money has given him some traction control as Sean Galale is just going to completely turn across me in towards the first corner. Not too sure why we've got a warning for that, because we were quite clearly up the inside of Shawnee Boy there. As up the inside we will go on the young driver there once more. Actually, not really in Formula 2. He's probably one of the oldest drivers in Formula 2 as we head through the loop for the first time. I think, oh god, getting a bit squirrely on the exit. We've still got Pedro Piquet on the inside though, so we have to give him the room on the exit of the corner. We've only got a tiny bit of front wing damage from that, so that shouldn't cost us all too much in this race as we head down in towards Sector 2 there. Jay and Deruvala a little bit slow on the line, a bit slower than I was expecting, as we just seem to have a bit more grip than a lot of the guys around us. You do tend to find the AI struggle a whole lot more on F1 2020, as I say that, getting incredibly fishtailing out onto the old straightaway there. You can see 3 wide down in towards the old turn 1, and despite being in the middle, I think we might have just come out of that one on top. No, Galale comes back at us on the exit of the corner then. And you can see as we head down in towards Maggots and Beckett's, not quite going to be able to find anywhere to try and get past Sean again. So not a particularly great start, down into 15th, but a long race ahead of us. Hopefully we should be able to slice our way back through the pack, as we might be able to try and get a good run down the Hangar straight here on Sean Galale. We've seen many, many overtakes down here in the past. Can we get up the inside of him? Yes, we can, and our battle with not quite a man that I want to be battling with, I'll be honest, in Formula 2. Hopefully, yeah, now we're past him for good. Coming in towards the final couple of corners of lap 2. Just trying to settle down into a rhythm, work out what the grip levels are like around this circuit, as we're now all over the back of Deruvala once more. Our teammate Schwartzman still leads at the front of the field, so perhaps me saying at the start of this video that he was slipping away from championship hopes, maybe, just maybe, this weekend he's getting himself back into contention there, as I think Markelov is still up in P3 there, so the ever-consistent Artem Markelov still having a good run so far. As we think about having a look at the inside of Jay and Deruvala, we might try and get the move on the exit, get to the inside for the next corner. Oh, he turns in on me again there, so the AI not afraid to be aggressive this weekend as he turns in again on the exit. Can we try and get the move done in the end? We'll hang him out to dry. And we do now move ourselves up into P13 once more of the British Grand Prix. So now, hopefully, we can start trying to make a march forward. These are certainly some of the worst conditions I've ever had to race in on F1 2020, but so far we do seem to be thriving in them. After we finally got the tyres up to temperature, tyre wear does seem pretty good as well here, so I don't want to say early on that the no-stop is out of the realms of possibility there as we try to get a good run on Guan Yu Zhou down in towards the S's once more. Let's see how quick the Uni Virtuosi driver is. We've got yellow flags. I think that's a Lacey, who had a brilliant start to this Grand Prix. Is going to be dropping to the wayside by the looks of it. That's going to move us straight up into P12. Maybe it'll be P11 in just a moment as we actually go purple through Sector 2 there. Guan Yu Zhou hasn't quite got the top end speed as well as we head down the hangar straight there and up the inside of Guan Yu Zhou we go. So we're now straight up into P11 then, only one place outside of the points, but poor Giuliano Alesi drops to the wayside. Next up for us though, Callum Ilott, saying that they reckon the heavy rain is going to be with us for quite a while in this race, and if the pre-race is anything to go by, it looks like it is going to be with us right to the checkered flag there. Callum Ilott braking a little bit earlier than I was expecting in towards the end of the hangar straight there, but I think that was just us missing our braking points slightly. Going to show the nose in towards the final couple of corners, but again, the AI really just not willing to budge this weekend, very much committed to turning in on their line. So it was a bit of a dive bomb, I'll quite happily admit, but you'd like to think there'd be some sort of just slight move off the line. Saying that, big lunge on Callum Ilott, full opposite lock, as we tried to go for one of the most aggressive moves I think I've ever tried on F1 2020. Again, Ilott turns in on us. This time around we're aware of it though, and just try to defend the corner a little bit more. And yeah, very feisty between the two real-life 2020 Formula 2 rivals. This time around though, Mick Schumacher's come out on top, and we're now up into the points. Next up, Jack Aitken. Coming towards the end of lap 7, I've noticed our teammate Schwartzman hasn't dived into the pits. There we go, Markelov is the first one to blink now. There's quite a few of us. I'm going to be staying out for another lap. Not too sure whether we are going to need to pit in this one. As you can see, Schwartzman sets another fastest time as we horribly miss the final corner. Or the apex even, I should say. But yeah, we are going to move up the order then. Nicely into the top 7th, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there we go, up into 7th place of this race, but tyre-wise we're halfway through and the tyre's only at 35%, so it would be a bit of a gamble on that front left, but if we can nurse it to the end, it might be worth taking the gamble here, seeing if we can leapfrog our way to the front and then defend like crazy towards the end of this race. There we go, end of lap 8. Schwartzman is going to dive it down into the pit lane, as well as I assume pretty much everyone else towards the front of the field here, so we do seem to be the only one that's going to try and take this gamble, at least for the next couple of laps, at the very least there. I just don't think I've got the pace to really be able to get towards the front anyway at the moment, so we may as well try and leapfrog our way there, and just see how quick the likes of Schwartzman are behind us in the latter stages of this one. Up to the lead of the British Grand Prix here, with 7 laps to go. Can we hold on to it? There we go. Now it seems like a lot of the field have come back out and settled back down into position. Schwartzman 15 seconds behind us at the moment. Then Markelov up into P3. Him and Armstrong, I think we've got the jump on Matsushita as well there. But yeah, so Prema now with a 1-2 in this race. We've had a 2-3 already this season, if you remember, all the way back to Bahrain at the start of the campaign. But you can see already Schwartzman's taking a good few tenths out of us as he's still trying to get his rubber up to temperature. This could get very tasty towards the end of this race. Let's see if we can just keep it on the straight and narrow, keep it tidy, keep it clean, and most importantly, don't wear out the tyres as well. And who knows who's going to come out on top. Glove is setting the timing screens alight as we head on to lap 11 there, but you can see the gap has only come down another 1.5 seconds or so far. The tyre wear is not looking great. It is going to be right up towards getting towards puncture territory by the end of this race, but I think now we've sort of had to commit to this strategy with 5 to go. But yeah, our teammate Schwartzman not taking a huge chunk of time out of us lap after lap. Markelov seems to be the man on a mission right now. 3 laps to go then here from the British Grand Prix, and those tyres are about to tick over to 60% wear in this race. They're definitely not quite supplying the same sort of grip we used to have in them there, as Markelov, though, is really closing in on our teammate Schwartzman here, so if those two start battling, that could work out really nicely for us. I think the main decider, though, is are we going to get a puncture before the end of this race, as 60% wear now ticks over. The tyre warning has now come on. Yeah, I think the puncture could very much decide this. Are we going to see what we saw from Lewis Hamilton in the real-life Grand Prix, where you get a puncture on the final lap and have to drag the car around to the finish? 3 laps time, we will get an answer. We got yellow flags out in Sector 1 as well then. Who's that falling to the wayside in this race? Not 100% sure actually who that is. Let's wait and get clarification. Luca Giotto out of another Grand Prix there, so more reliability woes for the Italian, who's had a torrid season so far there. But look, I don't know, would that be good for us? Yeah, it probably would be good for us if we got a safety car late on in this race there. But now you can see Schwartzman and Markelov have already taken a lot of time out of us this lap. And I think that's only going to get worse and worse as we head in towards the final couple of laps of this British GP. Heading down in towards the final couple of corners, then ready to start the final lap of this F2 British Grand Prix then. And so far, things are still looking good at the front of the field there. The gap to Schwartzman still holding up about 10.5 seconds. As I'm sure as we head through the first couple of corners, the tyres are going to dip over 70% wear. That then means, there we go, that we can get a puncture at any point now, between now and the end of the Grand Prix. So we need to really nurse that front left tyre around this final lap. Schwartzman is defending from Markelov rather nicely. I would love to walk away from this race with a 1-2 for Prema if possible. But yeah, maybe if those two battle, it will give us the opportunity, a little bit of a break that we need here. But again, I think it's definitely going to come down to the tyre more than anything else. I can't see him falling off the cliff, as that's a big lock-up down in towards Sector 2 there. Like I was saying, I can't see them hitting a cliff and us just losing 10 seconds through general pace this lap. The only thing I can see is that front left going, and that then allows them to get closer. As you can just see, all the wheels running out of grip at this late stage of the race there. 15 laps in treacherous conditions has really taken its toll on the wet rubber there. As you can see, we've got no grip through the old turn 1. They're dipping down to just over 100 miles an hour. That's going to allow Markelov and Armstrong to take even, Schwartzman even, I should say, to take even more time out of us as we just try and nurse these tyres through the S's for the final time. I think hopefully now we're getting towards safety here. As you can see, the gap's still coming down, 8 seconds now between myself and our Prema teammate as we head down the hangar straightaway. Can we just keep these tyres in good nick for 3-4 more corners to go of this British Grand Prix? It's been a strategy gamble, this one, but I think as soon as we made the call, we knew we had to stick with it and just try and nurse these tyres towards the end of the race there. In towards the final couple of corners we go, though, of the British Grand Prix. From being sideways through turn 1, side by side with Sean Galale, we're going to come through to win here in Silverstone. An important win to keep hold of our championship lead.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing. Well done. A great win then for the Prema team today. And I have to wonder, Davide Valsecchi, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, rain can always be counted to add a bit of a chaos into the race, and they really took advantage of that today to secure this win. I mean, conditions like this can always make it a bit of a lottery, but ultimately, they kept the car on the track and they pointing the right way. Not everyone can do that. And that's what got them the win today.
As we look back on a thrilling race here today, we can now see the drivers take their places on the podium. It's a familiar sight by now, as it's another successful F2 win for Prema. After this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It's a good result for Mick Schumacher, who extends his advantage at the top of the championship. Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
It's got to be Mick Schumacher. he attacked all race long. He was amazing.
And now a look at the team standings. Prema extend their lead at the top of the championship. Meanwhile, Arden's strong weekend allows them to continue their march up the table. Goodbye for now then, but we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Well, there we are then, guys. The end of the F2 feature race here from Silverstone. And it is the no-stop OP that has won us that one here today. Strategy Masterclass seems to be our thing this week on the Formula 1 games there. But a 1-2 as well for Prema is exactly what we need. I mean, the Constructors' Battle, we're doing pretty well in that anyway. But nice to show the dominance at the top of the field there. 7.7 seconds was the gap at the end of the day there. So yeah, Schwartzman and Markelov really did take a lot of time out of us in the second half of that race there. But Armstrong in fourth ahead of Matsushita, Lundgaard, Tictum, Drogovic, Mazepin and Jack Aitken round out your top 10 there, with Aylot and Guan Yu Zhou for Virtuosi just missing out there. As you can see, the rest of your finishers: Galeo, Darubala, Sato, Sonoda, Delatraz, Samaya, Nassini, and then obviously Giotto and Alesi not making it to the checkered flag there. Championship-wise though, 10 points the gap opens up to with that race victory there between myself and Markelov, as now Guan Yu Zhou drops way back into the clutches of our teammate Robert Schwartzman as well there. That's just been the thing that, you know, Schumacher and I, Schumacher and Markelov, we've been so consistent at the top of the table so far. And you get Guan Yu Zhou and Robert Schwartzman that seems to get their good weekends here, like sort of 2/3 of the time. But yeah, that's really just the difference between being right at the front of the championship and being, you know, one of the guys battling inside the top 10 there. Armstrong gets the jump on Mazepin, Matsushita, Drogovic get past Sonoda and Darubala there, with Tictum now just outside the top 10 once more ahead of Luca Giotto there. Samaya down to up into 13th ahead of Callum Aylott there. Who would have thought that would be the case? Looking at the real F2 championship there, and you can see the rest of your championship order there at the rear of the field there. Teams-wise though, we're still dominant out front there. Racelab and Virtuoso though tied now for P2 there. 10 points ahead of MP, who are a further 12 ahead of Carlin. And yeah, High-Tech and ART now really in that battle as well. They're 25 points separating 6 teams as we head into the sprint race tomorrow. There is a lot to play for still in this championship. But yeah, tomorrow though, we will be starting from 8th place on the grid. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well. And yeah, we will be back ready for tomorrow's sprint race. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.